so thank you everybody for coming. Okay, so this one here is about my journey from me to we to one. And C.W. Leadbeater said one day, you are what you share. So along with my jangled nerves, no pressure, here goes. Another me said this to me. What, you really think the world revolves around you? Dumbfounded, I replied, doesn't it? I thought that looked just like me.
Identical.
My nana always said it's how you hold your tongue. So I guess this is a great place to start. Me, the world, and as a matter of fact, the world does, or certainly did, revolve around me. So who is this me that is standing here talking to you today? I am female. My name is Sue. I am 62 years old. I have parents. I have children. I have grandchildren. I have friends. I have beliefs. I have. And I just, as a clarification here, when I use the word I, it's the little I in this talk, it's not the big I. So who is this me? I grew up believing in the me, and the journey as the me goes a little like this. My me family conceived a child born from the one source, then proceeded with love to shape the child, me, into the me that is standing in front of you today. I'll repeat that. My me family conceived a child born from the one source, then proceeded with love to shape the child, me, into the me that is here today. And now I assume you are all very aware of this. And as Ram Dass used to say before giving a talk, I see you all here today to hear me talk. And I look out and all I see is me. And when I speak, you all nod your head in agreement. And I know you all know what I'm about to say. But as you all came, I'll tell you anyways. I wonder what it would be like to be born into an awakened family. But for me, that's for another lifetime. And to be honest, I spent my years trying to like and get approval for the I that was me. Through life, continually searching for happiness and what another me could give to me. Always let down as my expectations could never be met. And even if someone amazing came along, bought me flowers every day, showered me with love, the day they didn't, I would still wonder why I wasn't good enough. The conditioning that is delivered through parents, siblings, grandparents, church, extended family is built upon and built upon till we believe that the roles we play are me. But this is not true. Child, daughter, wife, mother, etc., they are not truthful. And that leads to thoughts like, I'm just unlikable, I'm not good enough, all are negative thoughts. Until we find our soul, that is, but that's for the we to one. An example of how this works is the movie theatre. I go into a theatre and there is one other person in the theatre sitting in front of me, but they don't turn around so I cannot see their face. The movie that is playing is the story of my life, and I sit there going, yep, that's how it was. Yep, that's what I meant. And so on and so on. And the person turns around and of course it's me. Then I'm directed to the next movie theatre, and the same thing, a person I cannot see is sitting in front of me. Same movie, my life. Oh, this is so easy. But something's wrong. It's the same scenes but interpreted differently. And I'm thinking, that's not what I meant. That's not what I said. That's not how it was. And the person turns around and it's another member of my family, not me. And so on and so on and so on. Fortunately or unfortunately though, this journey is perfect, as it is what I asked for as a soul before I came to learn the next lessons on my bucket list towards enlightenment. The pain and suffering, i.e. emotional and physical, that I created through being a me in my unknowing was huge. All my life I felt like I was not good enough. It didn't seem to matter how hard I tried to be. The person others wanted me to be, the me was never good enough. My journey, which I actually spoke about 9 years ago, I think, at North Shore. We had a convention and we'd done a weekend course with Dorothy Bell on our worldview. And Carol, myself and Don were asked to do small talks about our worldview, and I talked about this in much more depth at that talk. So my journey at that stage was often around talking too much, and yes, it's funny, but it's not funny really. And at primary school, my father even says today that when I was a little girl, he used to say, "For God's sake, just shut up." And he used to say that to me as soon as I could talk. And at primary school, a teacher sellotaped my mouth closed, so I couldn't talk. This event and many, many more circles of friends, acquaintances, workplaces, all complaining about how much I talked or how inappropriate it was, or I said the wrong thing, always the negative of course, led to a lifetime of trauma, added with other things to at one stage in my life contemplating ending my life. With no foreseeable end in sight, no tools, or even any understanding that there may be a path from the pain, the me was completely asleep. Many, many me's have chosen this path. A note here that in 2019, 1.3% of all deaths worldwide were suicides, with it being the 17th leading cause of death. My point is that when we are in the me mode, e.g. asleep, it's impossible to find lasting happiness, as happiness that is everlasting comes from within, and in the me state, we are completely externally focused. HPB said, "Do not be afraid of your difficulties. Do not wish you could be in any other circumstances than you are. For when you have made the best of an adversity, it becomes a stepping stone to a splendid opportunity." So then we go on to the transformation from me to we. How slight and subtle the changes are on the journey. Here I read from a blog that I follow called Nick's List. And as I was reading this, I realised that it explained separation in the state of we and me. And it showed me how the me's and the we's stay separate from the one in the sea of illusion. Once upon a time, our ancestors traced a wavy line in the sand. This squiggle symbolised the separation between us and them. Offspring on both sides of the line were taught to recognise us and differentiate themselves from them. Our language, our history, our values, our people, us and them, would feed the distinction by competing in games. When that wasn't enough, us and them waged wars. Us would occasionally subsume them, or vice versa. A new line would then be traced in the sand. A new flag would be fashioned, and the whole conditioning would restart. Who is us and who is them? Do we define ourselves as Westerners, Europeans, Kiwis, Aussies? My friend claimed that she wasn't American but Californian. West Coast was us, East Coast was them. She later specified that she was from North California, not Southern California. San Francisco was us and Los Angeles was them. Geographical concepts such as countries, lines in the sand, regions, more lines in the sand, and culture, conditioning based on stories, are useful to distinguish sports teams, the blue team, the red team, but they also lead to wars, exterminations, and concentration camps. What distinguishes lines on Google Maps and those on a Monopoly board game? How seriously do we take this game to be? Can one root for an Olympic team without getting caught up in nationalistic pride? A birthplace is a fluke, lines are random, a language amounts to signs and sounds, a tradition is just a bad habit, as it causes separation. Culture and history are merely stories we craft as we go along. What pride can be taken from such accidents and artefacts? Next list. And I added this in the other night because my son told me I had to. Interestingly enough, last week I was in Auckland at a mall, and I commented to my son that there were so many different races in Auckland compared to Havelock North, and he replied, "It's great, isn't it?" And without any thought, I said, straight away. Is it? And as soon as it came out of my mouth, I went, oh my God, did I really just say that? And I realised in an instant that it was old thinking, that it was thinking that once upon a time I may have had, but now I don't subscribe to that thought anymore. But very quickly that old thought still came to the fore. An interesting observation. So that's separation explained and a little of the why and how. This is more of the being me and we states. When our hearts are still disconnected from ourselves and each other, we the collective, and even in this space, it's still the continual search for happiness and peace. If I could just, if so-and-so would just do this, if and if and ifs, always seeking outside of ourselves for solutions. How is this journey back to the one source so caught up in our individual journeys of the me and the we? Even in our groups, Theosophy, churches, etc., can be viewed as a we state. The separation still exists, but the lines are. Are you a vegetarian? Do you drink alcohol? Do you donate money each week? Are you baptised? And the list goes on and on and on. Ram Dass said in one of his talks I was listening to, it was more explained than this, but that any form of separation is violence. It's an interesting point of view, one to which I have come to understand. The Dalai Lama said, it's no longer appropriate to think only of my country. We must educate the young in the ways to achieve genuine world peace, taking the entire world, the whole of humanity, into account on a global level. Now we come to the path of one. Deep in our consciousness, we know that the me, we, us, them, and the one are actually all the same. The use of language is only to try and convey the idea of the movement along the path. So now we move into what being truly one looks and feels like. The song I'm going to play for you really touched a place in me that I hadn't found before. I hope this song will reach those of you that need it. This song reminds us that even as a me or a we are already enough. And to me, that's such an important message. It reminds us to enjoy the journey. It is all too easy to be consumed by our difficulties and not to see our progress. Thich Nhat Hanh said, true self is non-self, the awareness that the self is made only of non-self elements. There's no separation between self and other, and everything is interconnected. Once you are aware of that, you are no longer caught in the idea that you're a separate entity. One of my favourite poems. So to me, this poem is the very essence of what one looks and feels like. Please call me by my true names, Thich Nhat Hanh. Do not say that I'll depart tomorrow. Even today, I'm still arriving. Look deeply. Every second I am arriving to be a bud on a spring branch, to be a tiny bird with still fragile wings, learning to sing in my new nest, to be a caterpillar in the heart of a flower, to be a jewel hiding itself in a stone. I still arrive in order to laugh and to cry, to fear and to hope. The rhythm of my heart is the birth and death of all that are alive. I am the mayfly metamorphosing on the surface of the river, and I am the bird which, when spring comes, arrives in time to eat the mayfly. I am the frog swimming happily in the clear water of the pond, and I am the grass snake that silently feeds itself on the frog. I am the child in Uganda, all skin and bones, my legs as thin as bamboo sticks, and I am the arms merchant selling deadly weapons to Uganda. I am the 12-year-old girl, refugee on a small boat, who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. And I am the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving. I am a member of the Politburo with plenty of power in my hands, and I am the man who has to pay his debt of blood to my people, dying slowly in a forced labour camp. My joy is like spring, so warm it makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain is like a river of tears, so vast it fills the four oceans. Please call me by my true names so I can hear all my cries and laughter at once. So I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names so I can wake up, and so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion. I think that poem, especially for me, for the ones of us who don't feel it all the time, actually show you how we can be everything. And that the reason to be everything isn't, oh, goodness, I don't want to be everything. It's too painful, I don't want to be the baddie, I just want to be the goodie. But it shows us that until we can see all our cries, all our pain, all our happiness all at once, we cannot find the equanimity. We cannot find that centre place that we're all looking for. So I kind of nearly finished there before, but I started this talk before I went to Nepal to stay with my friends, and something happened when I was in Nepal that to me was a living example of right now, right just in the last few months, of my me to we to one in a very short time. So my journey to Nepal, my me to one living example, 2022. And for those that don't know, that's the Bodhanath Stupa in Kathmandu. I think it's one of the largest stupas in the Northern Hemisphere. So firstly, the reason behind my trip. Guess what that was? Me. My friends wanted to help me heal after my stressful 18 months. They wanted to shower me with love and kindness, and the me was only too eager to accept. Then the me kicked in again. Oh goodness, I'm going through India. Maybe I could get some cosmetic surgery on my eyelids. Then the argument. No, you're on a spiritual journey, age gracefully. Damn that spiritual journey. So the me argued back, no, it's not for good looks, it's for your eyesight. In a few years you won't be able to see properly, just get it done. So the argument went backwards and forwards, no, yes, no, yes. But of course I had to say yes, and I'll tell you the reason why. It's very legitimate. Do you know that the cost is so much cheaper in India? Yeah. So the eye surgery was very interesting, certainly a very good test of faith and trust in that situation, but it went okay. Then I arrived in Nepal. The first week I was in Nepal, I ended up getting a contact dermatitis on my eyelids after my girlfriend there, Apana, who some of you met at the Hamilton convention. She's been a nurse, so she removed my stitches. Ouch, by the way. And I ended up with contact dermatitis, so I had these scarlet eyes, and everybody I could see was looking at me saying, what'd you do that for? But I was I had conviction, you know, they talk about conviction that it was the right thing for me, so that was fine. But that got healed after about a week, and I'm just leaning into this loving kindness, caring, basking in the warm embrace of unconditional love, because they love me to bits, because they just do. And then tragedy. My friend's daughter is found dead in the States, suspected suicide. Terrible, tragic news. They shared that she had struggled with mental illness and had shut everyone out of her life. And in those moments, the arguing started. Who should have? Who didn't? Who could have? What could we have done? The whole range of story overlaid with Nepali language, a different language, people in different countries trying to deal with things, crying, sadness. And in a moment, the tables were turned. And it was now my turn to embrace them with healing, loving awareness, caring, and for them to feel the embrace of unconditional love. And what I realised was kind of all happening while I was away, so you kind of just do what you do. But I realised afterwards, when I was finishing this talk, that in those moments when we share pain like that and we hold space for the emotions of others, that we become one without even realising it. There is no me. So then I said, what was my trip really for? Perhaps as I had also in my life felt this despair of being disconnected like this and contemplated the path of their daughter. Was it coincidence? No. As you know, none of us believe in coincidence. Was it to affirm that we are never truly separate, even when it appears that way? Whatever it was much bigger than me, and I know that I'm so grateful that I was there to support them and share that time with them. So funnily enough, my last slide that I had chosen for my talk, because I really try hard to include theosophical material, even though, and Theosophy World was a great help, thank you. I try to include it, even though I haven't read lots of the books, so it's not my go-to material, but I was determined to add theosophical quotes, so I found this one, and serendipity, of course, because it's the one we opened with. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves at one with thee know they are therefore one with every other. Annie Besant. Namaste.
Thank you.